There is a scathing report ripping new backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Justin Fields, calling him a toxic as hell teammate. We'll go over that here in just a second, whether or not you should believe it. And then later in today's show, we'll go over some conflicting reports on the trade status of Courtland Sutton. So make sure you guys go ahead right now, click that subscribe button because we got a bunch of great news and rumors content coming your way. And earlier this week here, we put out the official 2024 schedule release video on the channel. I'm going to put the link to that one in the comments and description of today's show. And remember, guys, Steelers Talk Live is tomorrow or today, depending on when this video comes out, Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just so you guys know that, if you want to come talk about the schedule, Coop and I, we're going to be giving our official 2024 record predictions for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already for daily and free Steelers content all off-season, regular season, postseason long, right here on YouTube. So let's get into today's top story here, which is that multiple reports out there right now seem to confirm that Justin Fields, back during his rookie season in 2021, when he was put behind both Andy Dalton and Nick Foles on the Bears depth chart, he was called a toxic teammate, and that room in general in Chicago at the quarterback room was quote-unquote toxic as hell. This is what Tyler Dunne, a Bears reporter, had to say about that dynamic. There were several arguments amongst the QBs. Once, per one source, Foles was trying to teach something to Fields in the QB room, and upon turning towards the rookie, Foles realized Fields wasn't even paying attention. His head was down. At that point, Foles was done trying to play mentor. The two could not stand each other. They were never together. It was always Andy and Nick walking side by side, and Justin always 15 yards behind them. Justin wasn't great. And then also when it comes to this one, Justin wasn't great his rookie year. We thought having two vets with him would really help him with Andy and Nick, and that was not cohesive at all. The part I kind of liked about it was that Justin knew he was the best and should be out there. But what you don't like about it is that there's a teachable moment in every point of practices. There's teachable moments in the building during the day, how you carry yourself as a quarterback. There are teachable moments at press conferences. There's teachable moments every snap on Sunday. When you've got two guys that have won as much as Nick and seen as much as Andy, and you don't take that information in because you're a little standoffish and a little abrasive, you're wasting that opportunity. So listen, man, these reports definitely concern me. When it comes to Justin Fields coming in here, he's still a young quarterback, and I mean, these reports say that he's abrasive, that he's not really open to being mentored by older quarterbacks, and that's exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers are expecting from him heading into the 2024 season, with Russell Wilson expected to be his mentor here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So is this really a good pairing? A guy in Russell Wilson that in the past has kind of butted heads with certain teammates in the past, and then Justin Fields, who apparently now has a history of not wanting to be mentored and being standoffish with fellow quarterbacks that are above him in the depth chart. Brooke Pryor from ESPN had this to say about what the Steelers told Fields about his role heading into the 2024 season. The Steelers said to Justin Fields, "Hey, we're going to trade for you. We don't necessarily see you as a starter right now, but we want you to learn under Russell Wilson. So if you're hoping he's going to start week one, I wouldn't hold my breath." Maybe not all of the habits and things that have not gone well for him recently, but they want him to learn how to be a pro, how to function in a franchise that is not just kind of helpless and constantly struggling to get out of its own way. So listen, when it comes to this dynamic between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, I'm worried that, Russ, who maybe isn't the most teammate-friendly guy, he's not one of the guys necessarily, and then you got a guy in Justin Fields who apparently doesn't want to be mentored. He doesn't want guys that he perceives to be better than, or worse than, I should say, to be teaching him stuff, to be telling him how to play the position, how he should play the game, and that kind of spells trouble here, especially if this relationship kind of devolves this season into something that could be potentially toxic in the Steelers quarterback room. Now, what I'm hoping here is that these reports are a little bit unfounded, and I'm hoping that Justin has grown up a little bit here, and I'm hoping that Justin comes in here with a fresh perspective, with a better attitude than he reportedly did his rookie season. He wants to learn from a guy like Russell Wilson, who Fields himself has compared his skill set to. So this is definitely something where I'm hoping that these guys can gel together, that Russ can have a successful season, Fields can get the development that he's looking to get out of this next season. But with these reports coming out about Fields not really taking on mentorship, that definitely concerns me, because it sounds like that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers want him to do this season as the backup quarterback to Russell Wilson. Now, Brooke Pryor in that interview also said that there's a quote-unquote 50-50 shot that Justin Fields will eventually start over Russell Wilson during the 2024 season. Brooke did say it kind of depends on how Russell Wilson plays. It's going to be probably his job to start the season. It's going to be his job to lose, and she feels like it's a 50% shot here, whether or not Fields actually gets on the field. So let me know your guys' take down there in the comments section. What is the percent chance that Justin Fields starts a game over Russell Wilson in 2024? Injuries don't count here, okay? So if Russ gets hurt and Fields has to come in, that doesn't count. Fields starting a game over Russell Wilson, put it on a scale of 0 to 100 for me. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by letting me know the percent chance Fields starts a game over Russell Wilson this season. So my answer to this question, guys, is 15%. I don't think it's actually that good of a shot. I think the only way that this really happens is that if the Steelers really aren't having success with Russell Wilson, he's being a huge disappointment, and the Steelers aren't winning football games and they have to make a change. I don't see that as very likely, and I just think that Russell is going to be set up for success here. He's not going to be asked to do too much. He's going to be able to lean on this excellent defense and a run game that has Najee Harris and Jalen Warren leading the way behind an improved offensive line. He's going to have a couple of pretty decent receiving weapons to throw to as well. So Russ isn't going to be asked to do too much to win football games here in Pittsburgh. And I think with his veteran experience and his ability to perform in the clutch, the Steelers are going to be able to win football games with Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback next year. Now, you can question just how far the Steelers can make it with Russell Wilson as their quarterback, but I do think they'll be relatively successful. And if Russ plays well, plain and simply, folks, Justin Fields is going to be sitting the bench in 2024. And the only way he gets on the field is if Russ straight up loses the job and the Steelers season is starting to feel lost. And listen, at the end of the day, like I've been saying, guys, I expect Russ to play well. I think that this is a perfect fit between offense and quarterback, and then team and quarterback as well. I think that we've seen Russell Wilson have success in this type of structure with a team that has a really good defense, with a team that has a bruising run game, with a team that has reliable deep threats as receiving weapons. We've seen Russell Wilson be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback with this exact team structure. So I think Russ is going to be just fine. And barring an injury, I don't think Justin Fields is going to see the field as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024. Now let's shift to Courtland Sutton here, where he's one of my top wide receiver targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers here in the later stages of the 2024 offseason. And a Broncos reporter, Mike Kliss, says that Courtland Sutton is most likely not going to be traded by the Denver Broncos. This is what Kliss had to say. Courtland Sutton is working out on his own in Florida while sending a message to the team, talking about the Broncos. He'd like a pay bump. A trade does not seem to be an option. It's worth noting Sutton is not demanding a trade, which is fine because the Broncos aren't trading him. The time to have entertained this option was during the draft, and that passed without any talk of a trade. And so Sutton will continue working out on his own in Florida. So, I mean, Kliss seems pretty sure of himself here in terms of what his connections say there in the Broncos building. We have heard in recent weeks that the Broncos do like Courtland Sutton. They view him as kind of the Michael Thomas in the Sean Payton type of offense, kind of that slant option, the red zone threat, all these different things. And we have heard from various sources that the Steelers called the Broncos about Sutton's availability and were turned down. So where I'm at with this is that, if the contract negotiation stuff kind of hits the fan here and, things just kind of go haywire, I do think that's when Sutton enters the conversation as a potential wide receiver trade target for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But at this particular junction, it seems like the Broncos and Sutton want to get a deal done mutually here. The Broncos want him. Sutton hasn't demanded a trade as of yet, so it seems like he's at least open to returning to the Broncos this season. So it's not impossible at this point, but I do think it's probably a little bit unlikely. And I do think if the Broncos let him go, they're not going to let him go for necessarily cheap. It's not like you're going to get him for just a 5th-round pick or something like that. I think you're going to have to give up probably at least a 3rd-round pick next year to be able to secure Courtland Sutton's services. And honestly, guys, at this point in the offseason, you need a number 2 wide receiver threat. I would consider giving this to the Denver Broncos, especially if maybe you can get a little bit of a pick swap going here. Like if the Steelers can get a 4th-round pick back or a 5th-round pick back even, I think that this is something I would certainly entertain if I were Steelers GM Omar Khan. But let me know down there in the comments section, if the Broncos said you can have Courtland Sutton, but you have to give us a 3rd-round pick, are you pulling the trigger on this deal? Type A if you're going to accept it, or type D if you're going to decline it. Let me know down there in the comments section what you would do down there in the comments. Now, ESPN's Bill Barnwell says a more likely wide receiver trade target for the Steelers this offseason is none other than Tennessee Titans receiver that they took in the 1st round back in 2022, Treylon Burks. This is what Barnwell had to say about the possibility. One team that has been comfortable taking shots on talented receivers in the past, the Steelers, who usually mitigate the risk by drafting those wideouts in the middle rounds while trusting they can get the most out of them on the field. So listen, guys, I do think that this could potentially happen. I mean, we know the Tennessee Titans have brought in Calvin Ridley. They have brought in Tyler Boyd in free agency this year. Treylon Burks is definitely moving down the depth chart here. And although there are some reports out there that the Tennessee Titans actually do still want to keep Treylon Burks on the roster, I do think this is probably one of the more realistic trade options for the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point in the process. Burks is 24 years old. He has excellent size at 225 pounds. He's known as a great run blocker. And what he was really known for there at Arkansas during his college career and even a little bit here in the pros and the limited action he's had is that he's a good contested ball winner. He's got very strong hands. He's a reliable catcher. And then also he's a very physical after the catch as a runner. He's very tough to bring down. And that's something that he was definitely highly touted with the Arkansas Razorbacks back in college. And it's the reason why he got drafted in the 1st round back in 2022. And he was expected to be the replacement for A.J. Brown in that Tennessee Titans offense. And it just didn't really work out, unfortunately for him. They're a Tennessee, at least not to this point. And I will say this right now, I think that what we've learned from Treylon Burks in the early years of his career is that he is no A.J. Brown, man. He's not nearly as fast. He's not nearly as athletic. And personally, guys, I probably wouldn't want to pull the trigger on a Burks trade just because I'm not in love with his physical profile. Take a look at his relative athletic score back during the 2022 draft season. It's not like it's like a stellar, profile here. He's got the size and the strength, but the overall speed is just okay at 4.55. And then, the agility score was very poor. Okay. So it was just, he doesn't get in and out of his breaks very well. He's not the overall fastest wide receiver in the world. And I'm just not sure if this is the best receiver that the Steelers can go out and get this offseason. I do think he's going to be a bit of a cheaper option. I think the Steelers could probably get him for a 6th-round pick, which really isn't much of anything. And Treylon does fill a specific need on this Steelers offense because they need a bigger run-blocking type wide receiver because they've loaded up on smaller deep threat type guys. So getting a guy like Treylon that's bigger, who's a good run blocker, could certainly help them out to some degree. But personally, man, if I'm Omar Khan, if I'm Mike Tomlin, if I'm Russell Wilson, I want to go bigger here. I want to go get a DK Metcalf. I want to go get a Courtland Sutton. I want to go get a Deebo Samuel if any of those guys are available. I want to go and get a bigger fish here because the Steelers are trying to win Super Bowls right now in the present tense, not in the future, right now. And I think that the missing piece here to this offense is a legit number 2 wide receiver option that's got some size, that can run block on every single down, and somebody that's going to elevate the Steelers wide receiver room heading into the 2024 season. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. If you want more updates from me on both the NFL and for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can find me on X at Jack_Sperry and at SpareDog.football on IG. And don't forget, guys, make sure you click that subscribe button right now, because whenever the Steelers schedule gets released, we're going to have you guys covered with a breaking news video right here on the channel. So make sure you click that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you know when that video comes out and you know when our videos come out every single day.